The porch light flicked on as soon as I pulled into the driveway. It was past midnight, the kind of hour where silence presses against the world, and yet I could see her figure standing at the door, arms crossed, waiting. "Where were you?" Lisa's voice cut through the night as soon as I stepped out of the car. I shut the door harder than I meant to. My chest felt tight, but not because of her impatience. No, it was the weight of what I knew, of the truth I could no longer keep buried. I looked at her, at the woman I'd married 10 years ago, and forced the words out. "Looking for a faithful wife," I said flatly. Her lips parted, but no sound came. For a second, the only noise was the chirp of crickets and the faint hum of the streetlight. Then, just as quickly, she found her voice. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I brushed past her, the scent of her perfume hitting me in waves, sweet, familiar, and suddenly suffocating. The seeds of doubt. It hadn't started tonight. Doubt rarely blooms overnight. It grows slowly, like mold on walls no one notices until it spreads too far. For weeks, maybe months, I had felt something shift. The late-night texts she claimed were from coworkers. The sudden gym membership she never seemed to sweat from. The way she avoided my eyes when I asked simple questions like, "How was your day?" I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. We had history, memories, and a home full of photographs where we were still smiling. But a marriage doesn't crumble in pictures. It crumbles in silence, in excuses, in the spaces where love used to live. The moment that shattered me was simple, almost stupid. I'd borrowed her tablet to look up a recipe, and a notification popped up before I could close it. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." The sender's name. Just a single initial. M. I stared at that glowing message until the screen dimmed. The confrontation that never was. That night, I lay awake beside her, listening to her soft, steady breathing. My mind screamed at me to wake her up, to demand answers, to pull the truth out of her no matter how much it hurt. But instead, I lay there frozen, paralyzed by the fear of what she'd say. I told myself I needed proof. I told myself I couldn't accuse her without being certain. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. So I watched, paid attention. Her late-night work calls. Her quick smile when she saw her phone light up. The way she turned the screen away from me, as though my eyes had no right to see. And tonight I had followed her. The truth in the parking lot. She had told me she was going to the office to finish a report. I knew better. Something inside me whispered, "Don't let this slide." So I drove. I parked across the street and watched her car sitting not at her office, but outside a hotel. The door opened and she walked out, not in her work clothes, not with a laptop bag, but in the red dress she wore on our anniversary last year. The one she said she'd retired because it didn't fit right anymore. And next to her was a man I'd never seen before. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of grin that said he thought he'd won something. They kissed under the yellow glow of the parking lot lights. Not a quick peck. Not a goodbye. A kiss that lingered, full of promises and secrets. I sat there gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. My chest burned, my stomach churned, and in that moment I wanted to storm across the street, to rip the truth out in front of him, her, and the whole damn world. But I didn't. I waited until she drove off, until I could follow her home in silence. Back at the door. Now she stood in the doorway, eyes narrowing, confusion shifting into something sharper. "You're not making sense," she said, voice rising. "What do you mean by faithful wife?" I dropped my keys on the table, the sound echoing through the hallway like a gunshot. "Don't play dumb, Lisa. Not tonight. Not after what I saw." Her face paled, but she recovered quickly. Too quickly. "Saw? What are you even talking about? You've been acting paranoid for weeks." I laughed, a hollow sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. "Paranoid? Is that what we're calling it now? Because following you to a hotel and watching you kiss another man doesn't feel like paranoia. It feels like betrayal." Her jaw tightened. "You followed me. Don't twist this," I snapped. "Don't make this about what I did." You're the one sneaking around, lying to my face, sleeping with someone else while I'm here wondering why our marriage feels like it's bleeding out. For a long moment she said nothing. Her chest rose and fell, her eyes darted away, and I knew, without her saying a word, that I was right. The cracks in her mask. Finally she spoke, her voice trembling with something between anger and desperation. I didn't mean for it to happen. The words sliced through me. She didn't deny it. She didn't fight back. She admitted it. I leaned against the wall, my knees threatening to give way. How long? Does it matter? She whispered. Yes, I said, my voice breaking. It matters. Her eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were real or just part of the performance she'd perfected. A few months, she said finally. It wasn't supposed to. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. That hit harder than I expected. Because in some ways she wasn't wrong. I had worked late, missed date nights, buried myself in deadlines and paychecks thinking I was providing for us, not realizing I was leaving her behind. But nothing excused this. Nothing justified standing in a hotel parking lot in another man's arms. Breaking point. So that's it? I asked quietly. Instead of talking to me, instead of telling me you felt invisible, you went and gave yourself to someone else? Her silence was the answer I didn't want but already knew. I felt something inside me crack, like a glass shattering too cleanly to ever be fixed. The love, the trust, the partnership, we were supposed to be a team. And in one choice, she'd thrown it all away. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag, and began stuffing clothes into it. What are you doing? She cried, following me. What does it look like? I muttered. I can't stay here. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. Please, she said, reaching for my arm. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can. Pulled away. Counseling doesn't erase images burned into my head. Counseling doesn't undo months of lies. Do you even understand what you've done? Tears streamed down her cheeks now, but I felt numb. The man who once would have done anything to wipe those tears away was gone, replaced by someone broken, someone who finally saw the truth. The final goodbye. I slung the bag over my shoulder and walked to the door. She trailed behind me, sobbing, begging me to stay, but I couldn't look at her. Not anymore. When I reached the car, I turned back one last time. Her silhouette stood in the doorway, the same place she'd been when I arrived, but everything had changed. I spent years looking for the woman I thought I married, I said, my voice low, steady. Turns out, she doesn't exist anymore. And with that I drove away. The night swallowed me whole, but for the first time in months, the silence felt honest. People tell you betrayal is like a knife in the back. They're wrong. It's slower than that. It's poison dripping into your veins, unnoticed at first, until one day it stops your heart. I don't know what comes next. Maybe divorce. Maybe rebuilding a life from the ashes of what she burned. All I know is that trust, once shattered, doesn't get rebuilt with apologies. And as much as it hurts, I'd rather face the pain of starting over than the torment of sleeping beside someone whose promises mean nothing. Because when you go looking for a faithful wife and find out she isn't yours, you learn the hardest truth of all. Sometimes the person you loved the most was a stranger all along.